welcome back to UE5 BP Guru. Today we're back in our Resident Evil clone project, and we are going to be continuing on where we left off with we did a main menu, we've done a save screen, and now we're going to start doing our save elements, where we're going to basically start finding a way to save the information and load everything so that the world persists in the way we left off when we last played the game. There's a lot of different ways to do save and loading, and there's lots of different things you may or may not have to consider when you are loading. For example, what we're looking at today, you've probably guessed from the name of the video, we're going to be looking at events and how we're going to store that information. Now, we need kind of two things for this. One of which is I'm just trying to find where I saved my events. Oh, it's in here. That's fine. So we need to find a way to save our events. Now, there is a wonderful thing we can use called a database. This will work off of a structure. So we're going to call this structure event structure. And we're going to say in this structure, we want to know our event ID, which is going to be a string. We're also going to add in a event class, we'll call it, and this is just going to be a class variable. One thing we'll need to do with our event actors here, we're going to have to basically create a blueprint class, and we'll call this, it's going to be an actor class, and we'll call this our master event BP. Inside this master event BP, we're going to give it the class settings that we have before, which is going to be our event BPI, so that we can get the activate event. And then what we're going to do, delete all of that off, and we're going to add that actor event BPI in there. And that way we can essentially use this in our children. So if we create a child blueprint, and we'll call this Shadow Monster BP. And then if we go to our events, we can call this activate event individually and do our own things inside that. So the idea is, if we have we don't need to have anything in here. This can be an empty shell of a master BP. The only thing that we will need is the class. Everything else can derive straight from each individual actor. So for example, if I wanted to add that skeletal mesh back in, set it to Quinn again, and again set all of the colors back to the black that we had originally, that unlit black. Everything can be done exactly how it was before, just like so, and nothing else has to change. It's just the code that goes inside. So we can recode this exactly how we did in the other ones. What we're going for is everything deriving from that same master BP. So we delete all the other ones out, and every single one of them would become this this child BP, and we would put the code in. So this code could be so we can basically take the code. Oh my god! Take the code that's from in here and put it into our child BP, and it would still do all the same things as it had before. The only difference being that we have this master event controlling everything, so that when we come into our event structure, we can do a Oh my god, butchered that. Master event BP, we can create a class reference. And what this will do is I can come in here and I can select any one of my child BPs that I've created, and they will be then given an event ID that I can equate that to. Once we've set all that wonderful stuff up, what we can do is find our event struct, and we can go into, I think it's in miscellaneous, it is, we can create a data table, and that data table can then be created from our event structure. And we can call this DT underscore event list. Like so. And then we can create another one. We can say row number is event ID 1. And the ID event is also 1. And it is going to be the Shadow Master BP. You can add loads more information. Like if you want to have, a name. So you could say this is event name. You can even say, okay, add another variable. We'll call this one a text. And we'll say this is our event description. And this can purely just be for, your own uses, right? So when you're creating this event list, you could say, okay, this event is the hallway shadow event. And you could say, okay, we got an event description. Player walks into hallway and shadow monster walks past. Right? It's just a brief description so you know what event is for what. You could even have on here, just as an extra preventative, we could say, event location. And we could even go one step further and say, okay, this is going to take place in hallway 1. Save. And so we have a database now listing every event we ever want to create. And more importantly, we have an event class that event is linked to. This will, of course, be important later. So now that we have that, what we would like to also do is open up our third person character. And what we want to have happen is we want to create a new variable. And this is going to be type string, but we're going to change the variable type to a map. And that map is going to be a Boolean. And we're going to call this our event log. And this event log will be used to keep track of every single event that takes place in the game. It can be empty to begin with, but we can create a list if we want to and say, okay, we have 10 events. And this is very, very quick and easy to do. We're going to have 10 events in our game. We're obviously going to hope to have more, but this will just keep track of everything. And the reason we add this in now, instead of just letting it add up down the line, is because if we wanted event 10 not to take place until event 7 has taken place, we'd need to know if event 7 has been ticked true or not. So we need to make sure that we have every single event on here so that we can amend that. And on our open level blueprint, obviously we're going to eventually have our load game come in. So we load where we are, our position, all that sort of stuff. What we would also want to do is get our event log. And we'd want to check. So we'd want to get the length of our event log. And for loop. First index always being 0. Last index always being the final position, the length. And then we would run through that in using the index, and we would do a find. I'm not sure if we could do that. We could probably swap it like that, but we'd have to have a 0 position in here. Otherwise, it would come back as false. But we do a for each loop, and then we would... so we would have a double branch. First to say, was that key found? If that's true, we get the value of this Boolean, okay? So if it comes back true, we are going to want to, if it comes back true, we're going to get a database. Sorry, get row. No, wrong one. Get data table row. The event list would be our row. And then we would say find me this string value on here. So it's a little bit messy, I apologize. There's no real tidy way of doing this. So, but I'm just showing you what I would do with our event log. We would find the row, and we'd break that, and then we're left with our event class. Now we know the way we've set this up. Every actor that we create or an event we create will be a single one. We don't want to duplicate just for this very reason. But what we can do is get all actors of class, and we'd get the 0, 1 because there's only ever going to be one, and we would destroy the actor so that when we walk in to that box, for example, it would not be able to run that event again for a second time. So we're basically deleting out any actors that we have already experienced events for. That way we can't physically run extra events. So it's just one way of doing it. We're going to do that for now because we're going to redo that and test it properly down the line. But that's obviously for anyone who's interested in what we would do with that event log. The next thing we want to do is now change our camera boxes. No, wrong one. I believe it is actually the camera switch we're after. Where is my camera switch? There it is, camera switch. So we want to do this now. So we want to store a couple of references. So this has event is no longer needed. We can delete that and remove that from the branch. What we want to have is a event number, event ID, sorry, and that's going to be of type string. And what we're going to do is we're going to get our player reference. We're going to get our event log. And we're going to say find. And we're going to find that event ID. And first things first, we're going to say, does it exist? Because if we leave it blank, it's not going to exist. And we're going to say true. If it's false, we do nothing. We don't want to do anything. But if it's true, then we're going to check to see if we have it. Now, this is going to bring back whether it's been done or not. So if it's false, we're then going to run whatever happens in that event as normal. And we should already be able to test this purely by going to our box we originally had set up. And we're going to say this is... Oh, we're not going to be able to test it, sadly, purely because we haven't set up the new actor as of yet. We also need to promote this to instance editable and expose on Spawn. So if we go back in now, we should have a lovely event ID. We can add that as 1. Let's grab our Shadow Master, which I named incorrect, I know. But on our event activate, we're going to take this code, copy, and we're going to just pop it in here, like so, and compile. What's wrong with this dude? So we've set the master event up as a we've set it up as a actor. So what we need to do is come into our class settings and change the parent class from actor to a character. Character class. Compile that, and also compile our Shadow Master. And if we go to the viewport now, we've got a wonderful collision sphere capsule thing, capsule component. That's what I was trying to say. And we don't need the other original skeletal mesh. Actually, we just need to set this up to what it was before. If we search for Quinn, set that. We'll obviously have to move it back down and re-rotate. And just reset everything up as it was. Okay, perfect. And then we can now refresh, and everything should, in theory, work. So if we take our Shadow Master out, put it in exactly the same spot as this one is, and then delete out the other one. Hopefully it should all just work. New game. Okay, first issue has arisen. Oh. Get reference to self, that would help. And let's give it another whirl. Nope. I see where I've gone wrong. In here, we need to define the proper Shadow Master BP. That's why it wasn't moving, hopefully. New game. Whoa, he moved very fast, but he did move, and it worked. So the reason for that is just the speed. The walk speed is insanely high, but 150 I think is what it was set to in the other one. And that is now looking at our event log, which is great. It's now looking at our event log and saying, checking the event ID and running the event. And all we need to do after that is just take our event log and set. We can set this now. So set map of strings to booleans. And what should happen is if we say, okay, whatever our, we shouldn't just hard set it, we should use our event ID. Whatever the event ID is, we're going to set the value to 0. And that should, in theory, just allow us to stop it from ever spawning again. So now what would happen ideally is when we quit out after playing this event, we would play the game, save, reload, and when we load, we should be in the same place we saved, and that event should not exist anymore because of the code that we were going to write later on down the line when we do saving and loading. So yeah, that was a bit long-winded. There was a bit of trickery we had to work out there, but hopefully that all made sense nonetheless, and gives you an idea of how you can kind of create an event log and use a data table to basically remove any completed events. And we can add even a bit more code down the line to allow for checking if another event has happened before another one does. But we'll cover that in a totally different episode. Thank you so much, guys, for watching, however, and I will see you in the next episode. Much love. Take care. Bye.